Okay, I think it's working. Let's check it out. Yes, we are live. Where is the sound? Okay. It's working. Okay, good to see everybody. And give me a second to get started. Wait a second. All right. Get the guitar out. All right. All right. Chant this nice song by Narottama Das Thakur before class. Patita pavana toma bileke dai. Patita pavana toma bileke o nai. Mona Dayala Prabhu Kevano Hey Mona Dayala Prabhu Kevano Paschate Papan Gangarapura Sahoire Paschate Papan Dashane Pavitra Goro Itomaranga Dashane Pavitra Goro Itomaranga Aristanea Chanaya Paradena Paritra Thomas Chanaya Paradena Paritra Tomara Joy Sada Rovena Vishra Tomara Joy Sada Rovena Vishra Govina Govina Mora Vaishnava Pura Govina Govina Mora Vaishnava Pura Janme Koriasa Sharana Dukhe Pati Janme Koriasa Sharana Dukhe Narottama Korodoya Narottama Korodoya Vaishnava Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya Hosuteta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chandana Namaktavilana Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrindavan Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidvaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Lasa Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Shil Prabhupada Ki Jai Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutle Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatardi. So let me read the translation. O Vaishnava Goswami, please be merciful to me now. There is no one except you who can purify the fallen souls. Where does anyone find such a merciful personality by whose mere audience all sins go far away? One becomes purified after bathing in the waters of the sacred Ganges many times, but just the sight of you purifies the fallen souls. This is your great power. The holy name delivers one who is offended, Lord Hari, but if one offends you, there is no means of deliverance. Your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda, and Lord Govinda says, the Vaishnavas are in my heart. I desire the dust of your holy feet in every birth I may take. Please consider Narottama yours and be kind upon him. Narottama Das Thakur Ki Jai. So, Om Gana Timidandasha Garanjana Shlakya Chakshur Udmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So we are going to continue with our reading of Krishna Book. And now we are going to read about Lord Balaram's visit to Vrindavan. And so we're going to share the screen. So chapter 65 is entitled Lord Balaram Visits Vrindavan. And let me set this up so we can all see it together. There we go. Very important chapter. Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. So Lord Balaram became very anxious to see his father and mother in Vrindavan. Therefore, with great enthusiasm, he started on a chariot for Vrindavan. So, of course, his father, in one sense, his father and mother were where? In Mathura. So, but because he had been brought up by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, just like Krishna has been brought up by Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Maya, he considered them to be his father and mother, rather than Vasudeva and Rohini. And he also considered them too. So anyway. So, the inhabitants of Vrindavan had been anxious to see Krishna and Balaram for a very long time. When Lord Balaram returned to Vrindavan, all the cowherd boys and gopis had grown up. But still, on his arrival, they all embraced him, and Balaram embraced them in reciprocation. After this, he came before Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda and offered his respectful obeisances. In response, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj offered their blessings unto him. They addressed him as Jagadish for all, or the Lord of the universe who maintains everyone. The reason for this was that Krishna and Balaram maintain all living entities, and yet Nanda and Yashoda were put into such difficulties on account of their absence. Feeling like this, they embraced Balaram and seating him on their laps. They began their perpetual crying, wetting Balaram with their tears. Lord Balaram then offered his respectful obeisances to the elderly cowherd men and accepted the obeisances of the younger cowherd men. Thus, according to their different ages and relationships, Lord Balaram exchanged feelings of friendship with them. He shook hands with those who were his equals in age and friendship, and with loud laughing embraced each one of them. It's interesting. Etiquette. Insofar as dealing with people who are older, people who are younger, Krishna and Balaram also always observed this particular etiquette, as well as the Pandavas observed this etiquette. And the Kurus did not observe that etiquette. At least Duryodhana and company did not. After being received by the cowherd men and boys, the gopis and King Nanda and Yashoda, Lord Balaram sat down, feeling satisfied, and they all surrounded him. First, Lord Balaram inquired from them about their welfare, and then, since they had not seen him for such a long time, they began to ask him different questions. The inhabitants of Vrindavan had sacrificed everything for Krishna, simply being captivated by the lotus eyes of the Lord. because of their great desire to love Krishna. They never desired anything like elevation to the heavenly planets or merging into the effulgence of Brahman to become one with the absolute truth. They were not even interested in enjoying a life of opulence, but were satisfied in living a simple life in the village as cowards. They were always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and did not desire any personal benefits. And they were all so much in love with him that in his absence their voices faltered when they began to inquire from Balaramaji. Balarama is also known as Dauji. Dauji means older brother. And there's many deities around Vrindavan of Dauji Krishna or Krishna and Dauji. There's even one village called Dauji, and Balarama is celebrated in that village, and that village is really close to Gokul. First, Nanda Maharaj and Yashodamai inquired, "My dear Balaram, are our friends like Vasudeva and others in the family doing well? Now you and Krishna are grown-up, married men with children. In the happiness of family life, do you sometimes remember your poor father and mother, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi?" It's actually also very interesting that they were considered the mother and father of Balaram, whereas Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi understood all the time that Rohini was the mother of Balaram and Vasudeva was the father. In fact, what appeared to be external, but because they actually took care of Balaram. Actually, Rohini was there also in the beginning. Still, Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Devi had that paternal relationship with Balaram. Very interesting. Also in the village relationship, you may have many aunts and uncles, but in one sense, they're just considered to be like extensions of your parents. It is very good news that the most sinful King Kungs has been killed by you, and that our friends like Vasudeva and others who had been harassed have now been relieved. It is also very good news that you and Krishna defeated Jarasandha and Kalyavana, who is now dead, and that you are now living in a fortified residence in Dwaraka. When the gopis arrived, Lord Balaram glanced over them with loving eyes. Being overjoyed, the gopis, who had so long been mortified on account of Krishna and Balaram's absence, began to ask about the welfare of the two brothers. They specifically asked Balaram whether Krishna was enjoying his life surrounded by the enlightened women of Dwarakapuri. Does he sometimes remember his father Ananda and mother Yashoda and the other friends with whom he so intimately behaved while in Vrindavan? Does Krishna have any plans to come here to see his mother Yashoda? And does he remember us gopis who are now pitiably bereft of his company? Krishna may have forgotten us in the midst of the cultured women of Dwaraka, but as far as we are concerned, we still remember him by collecting flowers and sewing them into garlands. When he does not come, however, we simply pass our time by crying. If only he would come here and accept these garlands we have made. Dear Lord Balaram, descendant of Dasharha, you know that we would give up everything for Krishna's friendship. Even in great distress, one cannot give up the connection of family members, but although it may be impossible for others, we gave up our fathers, mothers, sisters, and relatives. But then Krishna, without caring a pinch for our renunciation, all of a sudden renounced us and went away. He broke off our intimate relationship without serious consideration and left for a foreign country. But he was so clever and cunning that he manufactured very nice words. He said, "My dear gopis, please do not worry. The service you have rendered me is impossible for me to repay. After all, we are women, so how could we disbelieve him? Now we can understand that his sweet words were simply for cheating us." Protesting Krishna's absence from Vrindavan, another gopi said, "My dear Balaramaji, we are of course village girls, so Krishna could cheat us in that way. But what about the women of Dwarka? Don't think they are as foolish as we are. We village women might be misled by Krishna, but the women in the city of Dwarka are very clever and intelligent. Therefore, I would be surprised if such city women could be misled by Krishna and could believe his words. Then another gopi began to speak. My dear friend, she said, Krishna is very clever in using words. No one can compete with him in that art. He can manufacture such colorful words and talk so sweetly that the heart of any woman would be misled. Besides that, he has perfected the art of smiling very attractively. And by seeing his smile, women become mad after him and give themselves to him without hesitation. Another gopi, after hearing this, said, My dear friends, what is the use of talking about Krishna? If you are at all interested in passing time by talking, let us talk on some other subject than him. If cruel Krishna can pass his time without us, why can't we pass our time without Krishna? Of course, Krishna is passing his days without us very happily, but we cannot pass our days happily without him. When the gopis were talking in this way, their feelings for Krishna became more and more intense, and they were experiencing Krishna's smiling, Krishna's words of love, Krishna's attractive features, Krishna's characteristics, and Krishna's embraces. By the force of their ecstatic feelings, it appeared to them that Krishna was personally present and dancing before them. Because of their sweet remembrance of Krishna, they could not check their tears, and they cried without consideration. Of course, their remembrance of Krishna is exactly the same as Krishna being there. And actually, they were perceiving the presence of Krishna. So we can sort of follow in their footsteps, not imitate them, but follow in their footsteps by remembering Krishna in a very intense way. And then Krishna manifests himself by chanting his holy name. We can manifest Krishna by remembering his pastimes. We can manifest Krishna by serving the devotees. We can manifest Krishna, etc. Lord Balaram, of course, could understand the ecstatic feelings of the gopis, and therefore he wanted to pacify them. He was expert in presenting an appeal, and thus treating the gopis very respectfully, he began to narrate the stories of Krishna so tactfully that the gopis became satisfied. To keep the gopis in Vrindavan satisfied, Lord Balaram stayed there continuously for 2 months, namely the months of Chaitra, March, April, and Vaishakha, April, May. For these 2 months he kept himself among the gopis, and he passed every night with them in the forest of Vrindavan to satisfy their desire for conjugal love. Thus Balaram also enjoyed the rasa dance with the gopis during these 2 months. Since the season was springtime, the breeze on the bank of the Yamuna was blowing very mildly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, especially the flower known as komudi. Moonlight filled the sky and spread everywhere, and thus the banks of the Yamuna appeared very bright and pleasing. And Lord Balaram enjoyed the company of the gopis there. So we should understand, as Prabhupada explains elsewhere, that Lord Balaram has his own group of gopis, or groups of gopis. They were not the same gopis that danced with Krishna or had a relationship with Krishna. However, with the gopis who had a relationship with Krishna, Balaram spoke to them about Krishna. Okay, so he helped both groups. The demigod, known as Boruna, sent his daughter, Boruni, in the form of liquid honey oozing from the hollows of trees. Because of this honey, the whole forest became aromatic, and the sweet aroma of the liquid honey Boruni captivated Balaramaji. Balaramaji and all the gopis became very much attracted by the taste of the Boruni, and all of them drank it together. While drinking this natural beverage, all the gopis chanted the glories of Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram felt very happy, as if he had become intoxicated by drinking that Boruni beverage. His eyes rolled in a pleasing attitude. He was decorated with long garlands of forest flowers, and the whole situation appeared to be a great function of happiness because of this transcendental bliss. Lord Balaram smiled beautifully, and the drops of perspiration decorating his face appeared like soothing morning dew. While Balaram was in that happy mood, he desired to enjoy the company of the gopis in the water of the Yamuna. Therefore he called the Yamuna to come nearby. But the Yamuna neglected the order of Balaramaji, considering him intoxicated. So one note is, in the spiritual world, there is intoxication. Even there's some stories about Krishna and the gopis drinking honey wine and being so intoxicated they poured the honey wine onto the wrong side of the glasses, and so they got it all over themselves. So even in the spiritual world, there's intoxication, but that intoxication is based on love of Krishna. It is not like the intoxication in this world, which comes from the mode of ignorance, and based on forgetfulness, not only of Krishna, but forgetfulness even of your material identity. Lord Balaram became very much displeased that the Yamunas neglected his order. He immediately wanted to scratch the land near the river with his plowshare. Lord Balaram has two weapons, a plow and a club, from which he takes service when they are required. This time, he wanted to bring the Yamuna by force, and he took help of the plow. He wanted to punish the Yamuna because she did not come in obedience to his order. He addressed the Yamuna, "You wretched river, you did not care for my order. Now I shall teach you a lesson. You did not come to me voluntarily. Now with the help of my plow, I shall force you to come. I shall divide you into hundreds of scattered streams." While the Yamuna was threatened like this, she became greatly afraid of the power of Balaram and immediately came in person, falling at his lotus feet and praying thus, "My dear Balaram, you are the most powerful personality, and you are pleasing to everyone. Unfortunately, I forgot your glorious exalted position, but now I have come to my senses, and I remember that you hold all the planets on your head, merely by your partial expansion, Shesha. You are the sustainer of the whole universe, my dear supreme personality of Godhead. You are full with six opulences. Because I forgot your omnipotence, I have mistakenly disobeyed your order, and thus I have become a great offender. But, my dear Lord, please know that I am a soul surrendered unto you, who are very affectionate to your devotees. Therefore, please excuse my impudence and mistakes, and by your causeless mercy, may you now release me." Upon displaying the submissive attitude, the Yamuna was forgiven, and when she came nearby, Lord Balaram enjoyed the pleasure of swimming in her waters along with the gopis in the same way that an elephant enjoys himself along with his many she-elephants. After a long time, when Lord Balaram enjoyed to his full satisfaction, he came out of the water, and immediately a goddess of fortune offered him a nice blue garment and a valuable necklace made of gold. After bathing in the Yamuna, Lord Balaram, dressed in blue garments and decorated with golden ornaments, looked very attractive to everyone. Lord Balaram's complexion is white, and when he was properly dressed, he looked exactly like the white elephant of King Indra in the heavenly planets. The river Yamuna still has many branches due to being scratched by the plowshare of Lord Balaram, and all these branches of the river Yamuna still glorify the omnipotence of Lord Balaram. And actually, if you go to that spot where Balaram had his rasa dance with the gopis, and he scratched the Yamuna, you can actually still see, basically, maybe not the marks of the plow, but actually the little rivulets that were made by the plow, in stone or in the sand. Of course, the sand washes away, but in the stone there, you can actually see where Balaram scratched the Yamuna to bring the Yamuna close by. Lord Balaram and the gopis enjoyed transcendental pastimes together every night for 2 months, and time passed so quickly that all those nights appeared to be only one night. In the presence of Lord Balaram, all the gopis and other inhabitants of Vrindavan became as cheerful as they had been before in the presence of both brothers and Lord Krishna, Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 65th chapter of Krishna, Lord Balaram visits Vrindavan. 65th chapter, so we did a whole chapter, and so we have time, we can go to the next chapter. Chapter 66. Ooh, it's an exciting chapter. The deliverance of Paundraka and the king of Kashi. The story of King Paundraka is very interesting because it proves there have always been many rascals and fools who have considered themselves to be God. Even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there was actually a foolish person. There was such a foolish person. What was it? His name was Paundraka, and he wanted to declare himself God. While Lord Balaram was absent in Vrindavan, This King Paundraka, the king of Kurusha province, being foolish and puffed up, sent a message to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but King Paundraka directly challenged Krishna through the messenger, who stated that Paundraka, not Krishna, was Vasudeva. In the present day, there are many foolish followers of such rascals. Similarly, in Paundraka's day, many foolish men accepted Paundraka as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he could not estimate his own position, Paundraka falsely thought himself to be Lord Vasudeva. He actually thought himself to be God. I mean, that's kind of stupid. Even as we see, or will see, that he had to tie the symbols of Vishnu on himself, 2 extra arms, to make a show of being the Supreme Personality of God, and still he thought he was God. Thus the messenger declared to Krishna that King Paundraka, the Supreme Personality of God, had descended to the earth out of his causeless mercy, just to deliver all distressed persons. Surrounded by many other foolish persons, this rascal Paundraka had actually concluded that he was Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This kind of conclusion is certainly childish. When children are playing, they sometimes select a king amongst themselves, and the selected child may think he is actually the king. Similarly, many foolish persons, due to ignorance, select another fool as God, and then the rascal actually considers himself God, as if God could be created by childish play or by the votes of men. Under this false impression, thinking himself the Supreme Lord, Paundraka sent his messenger to Dwarka to challenge the position of Krishna. The messenger reached the royal assembly of Krishna in Dwarka and conveyed the message given by his master, Paundraka. The message contained the following statements. Now this is a statement or statements by this rascal Paundraka. I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. No man can compete with me. I have descended as King Paundraka, taking compassion on the distressed conditioned souls out of my unlimited, causeless mercy. You have falsely taken the position of Vasudeva without authority, but you should not propagate this false idea. You must give up your position. O descendant of the Yadu dynasty, please give up all the symbols of Vasudeva which you have falsely assumed, and after giving up this position, come and surrender unto me. If out of your gross impudence you do not care for my words, then I challenge you to fight. I am inviting you to a battle in which the decision will be settled. When all the members of the royal assembly, including King Ugrasena, heard this message sent by Paundraka, they laughed very loudly for a considerable time. After enjoying the loud laughter of all the members of the assembly, Krishna replied to the messenger as follows. O messenger of Paundraka, you may carry my message to your master. You are a foolish rascal. I directly call you a rascal, and I refuse to follow your instructions. I shall never give up the symbols of Vasudeva, especially my disc. I shall use this disc to kill not only you, but all your followers also. I shall destroy you and your foolish associates, who merely constitute a society of cheaters and cheated. O foolish king, you will then have to conceal your face in disgrace, and when your head is severed from your body by my disc, it will be surrounded by meat-eating birds like vultures, hawks, and eagles. At that time, instead of becoming my shelter, as you have demanded, you will be the subject to the mercy of these low-born birds. At that time, your body will be thrown to the dogs, who will eat it with great pleasure. Phew. The messenger, this is like a chivalrous exchange. Kshatriyas do this all the time. It's like, nowadays, of course, we have these sporting games like football and different games like that, where people challenge the opposing party in a similar way. The messenger carried the words of Lord Krishna to his master Paundraka, who patiently heard all these insults. Without waiting any longer, Lord Krishna immediately started out in his chariot to punish the rascal Paundraka, the king of Kurusha. Because at that time he was living with his friend, the king of Kashi. Krishna surrounded the whole city of Kashi. King Paundraka was a great warrior, and as soon as he heard of Krishna's attack, he came out of the city with 2 Akshahini divisions of soldiers. The king of Kashi also came out with 3 Akshahini divisions. When the 2 kings came before Lord Krishna to oppose him, Krishna saw Paundraka face to face for the first time. Krishna saw that Paundraka had decorated himself with the symbols of the conch-shell disc, lotus, and club. He carried an imitation Shangir bow, and on his chest was a mock insignia of Srivats. And so the Srivatsa is actually the sign of the lotus feet, actually, of Lakshmi. His neck was decorated with a false Kaustuba jewel, and he wore a flower garland in exact imitation of Lord Vasudev's. He was dressed in yellow silken garments, and the flag on his chariot carried the symbol of Garuda, exactly imitating Krishna's. He had a very valuable helmet on his head, and his earrings, like swordfish, glittered brilliantly. On the whole, however, his dress and makeup were clearly imitation. Anyone could understand that he was just like someone on stage playing the part of Vasudeva in false dress. When Lord Sri Krishna saw Paundraka imitating his posture and dress, he could not check his laughter, and thus he laughed with great satisfaction. The soldiers on the side of King Paundraka began to shower their weapons upon Krishna. The weapons, including various kinds of tridents, clubs, poles, lances, swords, daggers, and arrows, came flying in waves, and Krishna counteracted them. He smashed not only the weapons, but also the soldiers and assistants of Paundraka, just as during the dissolution of the universe, the fire of devastation burns everything to ashes. The elephants, chariots, horses, and infantry belonging to the opposite party were scattered by the weapons of Krishna. Indeed, the whole battlefield became strewn with smashed chariots and the bodies of men and animals. There were fallen horses, elephants, men, asses, and camels. Although the devastated battlefield appeared like the dancing place of Lord Shiva at the time of the dissolution of the world, the warriors on the side of Krishna were very much encouraged by seeing this, and they fought with greater strength. At this time, Lord Krishna told Paundraka, Paundraka, you requested me to give up the symbols of Lord Vishnu, specifically my disc. Now, I will give it up to you. Be careful. You falsely declare yourself Vasudeva, imitating me. Therefore, no one is a greater fool than you. From this statement of Krishna's, it is clear that any rascal who advertises himself as God is the greatest fool in human society. Krishna continued, now, Paundraka, I shall force you to give up this false representation. You wanted me to surrender unto you. Now, this is your opportunity. We shall now fight. And if I am defeated and you are victorious, I shall certainly surrender unto you. In this way, after chastising Paundraka very severely, Krishna smashed Paundraka's chariot to pieces by shooting an arrow. Then, with the help of his disc, he separated Paundraka's head from his body, just as Indra shaves off the peaks of mountains by striking them with his thunderbolt. Similarly, Krishna also killed the king of Kashi with his arrows. Lord Krishna specifically arranged to throw the head of the king of Kashi into the city of Kashi itself, so that his relatives and family members could see it. Krishna did this just as a hurricane carries a lotus petal here and there. Lord Krishna killed Paundraka and his friend Kashiraj on the battlefield, and then returned to his capital city, Dwaraka. When Lord Krishna returned to the city of Dwaraka, all the siddhas from the heavenly planets were singing his glories. As far as Paundraka was concerned, somehow or other he always thought of Lord Vasudeva by falsely dressing himself in imitation of the Lord. Therefore, Paundraka was achieved Sarupya, one of the 5 kinds of liberation. Remember that? Sarupya, Samishti, Sarpya, Sayuja, Samipya, like that. That means Sarupya means having a form like that of the Lord. Salokya, living on the planet of the Supreme Personality of God, and Charshti, having the opulences of the Lord. Sayuja, merging into the existence of the Supreme Personality of God, Samipya, and associating with the Supreme Person. Those are the 5 types of liberation. And was thus promoted to the Vaikuntha planets, where the devotees have the same bodily features as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding the 4 symbols. So he actually got, in one sense, what he wanted, not to be God, but to sort of look like him. Factually, his meditation was concentrated on the Vishnu form, but because he thought of himself, Lord Vishnu, was offensive by his being killed by Krishna. However, that offense was mitigated, and he was given Sarupya liberation, and he attained the same form as the Lord. When the head of the king of Kashi was thrown to the city gate, people gathered and were astonished to see that wonderful thing. When they found out that there were earrings on it, they could understand that it was someone's head. They conjectured as to whose head it might be. Some thought it was Krishna's head because Krishna was the enemy of Kashi Raj, and they calculated the king of Kashi might have thrown Krishna's head into the city, so that the people might take pleasure in the enemies having been killed. But they finally detected that the head was not Krishna's, but that of Kashi Raj himself. When this was ascertained, the queens of the king of Kashi immediately approached and began to lament the death of their husband. "Our dear Lord," they cried, "upon your death we have become just like dead bodies." The king of Kashi had a son whose name was Sudakshina. After observing the ritualistic funeral ceremonies, he took a vow that since Krishna was the enemy of his father, he would kill Krishna and in this way liquidate his debt to his father. Therefore, hold on a second. Therefore, accompanied by a learned priest qualified to help him, he began to worship Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is also known as Vishwanath, as the Lord of the Kingdom of Kashi. The temple of Lord Vishwanath is still existing in Varanasi, and many thousands of pilgrims still gather daily to that temple. By the worship of Sudakshina, Lord Shiva was very much pleased, and he wanted to give a benediction to his devotee. Sudakshina's purpose was to kill Krishna, and therefore he prayed for a specific power by which to kill him. Lord Shiva advised that Sudakshina, assisted by the Brahmanas, execute the ritualistic ceremony for killing one's enemy. This ceremony is also mentioned in some of the tantras. Lord Shiva informed Sudakshina that if such black ritualistic ceremony were performed properly, then the evil spirit named Dakshinagni would appear and would then carry out any order given to him. He would have to be employed, however, to kill someone other than a qualified Brahmana. If all these conditions were met, then Dakshinagni, accompanied by Lord Shiva's ghostly companions, would fulfill the desire of Sudakshina to kill his enemy. When Sudakshina was encouraged by Lord Shiva in that way, he was sure that he would be able to kill Krishna. With this determined vow of austerity, he began to execute the black art of chanting mantras, assisted by the priests. After this, out of the fire came a great demoniac form whose hair, beard, and mustache were exactly the color of hot copper. This form was very big and fierce. As the demon arose from the fire, cinders of fire emanated from the sockets of his eyes. The giant fiery demon appeared still more fierce due to the movements of his eyebrows. He exhibited long, sharp teeth, and sticking out his long tongue, licked his upper and lower lips. He was naked, and he carried a big trident blazing like fire. After appearing from the fire sacrifice, he stood wielding the trident in his hand. Instigated by Sudakshina, the demon proceeded toward the capital city, Dwarka, with many hundreds of ghostly companions, and it appeared that he was going to burn all outer space to ashes. The surface of the earth trembled because of his striking steps. When he entered the city of Dwarka, all the residents panicked just like animals in a forest fire. At that time, Krishna was playing chess in the royal assembly council hall. All the residents of Dwarka approached and addressed him. "Dear Lord of the three worlds, a great fiery demon is ready to burn the whole city of Dwarka. Please save us." In this way, all the inhabitants of Dwarka appealed to Krishna for protection from the fiery demon who had just appeared in Dwarka to devastate the whole city. Lord Krishna, who specifically protects his devotees, saw that the whole population of Dwarka was most perturbed by the presence of the great fiery demon. He immediately smiled and assured them, "Don't worry, I shall give you all protection." The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is all-pervading, is within everyone's heart, and he's also without in the form of the cosmic manifestation. He could understand that the fiery demon was the creation of Lord Shiva, and in order to vanquish the demon, he took his Sudarshan Chakra and ordered him to take the necessary steps. The Sudarshan Chakra appeared with the effulgence of millions of suns, his heat being as powerful as the fire created at the end of the cosmic manifestation. By his effulgence, the Sudarshana Chakra illuminated the entire universe on the surface of the earth as well as in the outer space. Then the Sudarshan Chakra began to freeze the fiery demon created by Lord Shiva. In this way, the fiery demon was checked by the Sudarshan Chakra of Lord Krishna, and being defeated in his attempt to devastate the city of Dwarka, he turned back. Having failed to set fire to Dwarka, the fiery demon went back to Varanasi, the kingdom of Kashi Raj. As a result of his return, all the priests who had helped instruct in the black art of mantras, along with their employer Sudakshina, were burned to ashes by the glaring effulgence of the fiery demon. According to the methods of black art mantras instructed by the Tantras, if the mantra fails to kill the enemy, then because it must kill someone, it kills the original creator. Sudakshina was the originator, and the priests assisted him, therefore all of them were burned to ashes. This is the way of the demons. The demons create something to kill God, but by the same weapon, the demons themselves are killed. Following just behind the firing demon, Sudarshan Chakra also entered Varanasi. The city has been very opulent and great for a very long time. Even now, the city of Varanasi is opulent and famous and is one of the most important cities of India. There were then many big palaces, assembly houses, marketplaces, and gates with large and very important monuments by the palaces and gates. Lecturing platforms could be found at each and every crossroads. There were buildings that housed the treasury, elephants, horses, chariots, and grain, and places for distribution of food. The city of Varanasi had been filled with all these material opulences for a very long time, but because the king of Kashi and his son Sudakshina were against Lord Krishna, the Vishnu Chakra, Sudarshana, the disc weapon of Lord Krishna, devastated the whole city by burning all these important places. This excursion was more ravaging than modern bombing. The Sudarshan Chakra, having thus finished his duty, came back to his lord, Sri Krishna, at Dwarka. This narration of the devastation of Varanasi by Krishna's disc weapon, the Sudarshana Chakra, is transcendental and auspicious. Anyone who narrates or hears the story with faith and attention will be released from the reaction to sinful activities. This is the assurance of Shukadeva Goswami, who narrated this story to Parikshit Maharaj. So thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 66th chapter of Krishna deliverance of Paundraka and the king of Kashi. Okay, and we will stop here today. It's just about the right time. So we covered 2 chapters today, 65 and 66, and it's only 90 chapters in the Krishna book. So after that, we'll talk about what we're going to read and what we're going to preach about. So let's stop sharing, and we'll give you more time to answer or ask your questions, and give me more time to answer your questions. Hold on a second. Okay, so you can ask your questions now, either, as we said before, either raising your hand or unmuting yourself or typing in the chat box. So, Jagat, do you have a question?
Were these people, Paundraka and Kashi Raj and Sudakshina, were they part of the original demons from the battle at the Milk Ocean?
I don't know. I have to read the commentary. That's actually an interesting question. We'd have to read the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which I do have here, but there's no time. But it is possible. It's possible. I mean, many of the demons were like Kamsa was Kalaneme, and many of the other demons were actually demons from the journey in the Milk Ocean, and they were killed by Vishnu. So it is very possible. I don't know. I think if you have a copy of the Bhagavatam with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries and Jiva Goswami's commentaries and Antan Goswami's commentaries, you can check that out in chapter 66. Okay, next question. Nobody has a question. Praneshwara. What's that? Someone had it. Okay.
The question is like how we have to learn from this pastimes of Paundraka deliverance.
What do you want to learn from it? Don't try to imitate God. And also, all these Mayavadis and personalists, they're just great rascals, and they'll be killed by Krishna. And you see in India, of course, you're in India. So in India, you have many people who declare themselves to be God, and they can produce some ashes from their hands or something like that. Anyway, So they were able to do that. So I don't know about that. So all right. So yeah, so you can learn from that. What did we learn? Don't imitate Krishna. Don't think you're God, or else you're going to get smashed. So here's the question from Gopal. The big demon from Sudakshina's yajna came back and killed the priest. Does that mean he killed, punished brahmanas? They were tantric brahmanas. They were not actually, in one sense, real brahmanas. They're ritualistic brahmanas. Real brahmanas are those who know Brahman. Obviously, they didn't know Brahman, or else they wouldn't have engaged in those tantric processes. So that's the question. Another question is, Varuni is Lord Balaram's second wife, one of Balaram's wives. Yes. Is any pastime of Lord Balaram's second wedding to Varuni? I don't know. You'll have to check it out. Yes. You have to check that out. Here's some often the Brahmins aren't to be punished, so how in this yajna the process of yajna turned against them authorized? Well, I already answered that question. So, who has another question? Oh my God. Dandavat Pranamji. Okay. I joined very late, so the question is not related. Please help me by directing how can I engage my mind more in Krishna's names? Before you chant, standard answer I always give. Before you chant, have a sankalpa. Why are you chanting? What is the reason you're chanting? What are you requesting from Krishna? Because chanting is a request. Like we know, chanting, please engage me in your service, but it could also be, please free me from the material entanglement. Please help me control my mind. Please help whoever I want to be Krishna conscious. Please save one of my disciples, etc. If you happen to have disciples. So you have to have a sankalpa, a reason for chanting. Not just that I'm chanting because I'm supposed to, I have to, I made a promise. But here's my personal reason why I'm chanting on Krishna. Please, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I remember one time, a few months ago, when I was in extreme pain from my kidney stone. I definitely had a good sankalpa then. I chanted really nicely. So much pain. I just went to the devotees. So much pain that actually I couldn't sleep at night, so I just had to pace back and forth chanting Krishna's name. And that was really good chanting, I tell you that, Hare Krishna, help Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So somehow or other, Krishna brought me to a high stage of chanting the holy name through the use of my kidney stone. So this way, the kidney stone was a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So I don't wish that upon you.
Maharaji, this happens though, that when we are in a situation, our mind
Yeah.
focuses more. But when the situation is done, we are back to normal. As if we are back to the chanting isn't that effective again.
Yes, that's the problem.
So
So
how
to do that? Then you have to have compassion for others. That's what I find. And my disciples helped me a lot with this particular subject matter. That at any one time, many of them, or most of them, are struggling or in complete maya for one reason or other, and I'm praying for them. So we can pray for others. Certainly, there's other people. Even if everything's going all right with you, there's a lot of things happening with people you know, or even people around the world. I mean, for example, I hear about the devotees in Ukraine right now who are suffering tremendously due to the war going on. So, if that's an impetus for you, certainly it's an impetus for me. Like, Krishna, please help these devotees, protect these devotees. Anyway, there's a lot, or Krishna let people become attracted to Krishna consciousness, or, I mean, you got to figure out something that inspires you. Even if everything's going all right, personally, for some time, then there must be
Mhm.
something that inspires you, and you have to figure that out. Okay?
ठीक है जी. Thank you so much, Maharaj ji. Hare Krishna.
Very
Nanand ji.
good question. So, who else has a question? Now's your opportunity. You got 4 more minutes. You can type, unmute, or raise your little hands. If not, we can end 4 minutes early. And tomorrow we have another exciting chapter. Oh, Jagat or Tulsi.
My obeisances. You weren't exactly chanting for liberation from your pain, though.
No, I was just chanting general Krishna help. I didn't really say Krishna free me from this pain. I was Krishna help. You know, it was just like a general prayer
like,
for help.
like maybe you can elaborate on that for us more on that prayer for help.
You'll have to experience it yourself.
Well, I do. That's why I'm asking.
Help, Krishna. You know, it's like someone who's drowning. Someone who's drowning in the material ocean. They're realizing that they're not going to pray specifically for a life preserver. They may pray for someone to save them. They may pray for something else, for a boat. So yeah, when we're in difficulty, I mean, like even Draupadi, when she's a pure devotee, I mean, she was praying. It was very specific. She was praying to Krishna to protect her chastity. She didn't pray, you know, Krishna, you know, let's whatever you like to do, do. She's praying Krishna, save me, save my chastity. I mean, yeah, I mean, just practically. She had some prayers, or when, yeah, when Uttara was attacked by the Brahmastra, and Pariksha was in danger, the devotees were praying to Krishna to save the embryo in her womb. So, you know, devotees can be specific. I mean, you shouldn't be embarrassed that if you're in extreme pain, you're going to pray to Krishna to help you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, you don't feel guilty. Oh my God, this is material. I've just prayed. No, you're in extreme pain. You got to be practical. I mean, the problem is sometimes you feel guilty about things like that. I'm in pain. Oh, I shouldn't pray to Krishna. No, it's not right to pray to Krishna. Krishna, if you like. Krishna, if you like, continue this pain. Whatever is good. No, I mean, just don't be stupid. You can pray, you connect it to service. Krishna, if you like, you know, take away the pain and I'll serve you. Like the embryo sometimes in the womb is experiencing a miserable condition. He says, Krishna, save me. And if you save me from this pain, then I'll be your devotee in this life. Of course, when the pain lets up, he forgets about being a devotee. So, I mean, you know, you have to be practical. You're not a pure devotee, or maybe you are. I got to be careful. So let's say, theoretically, someone's not a pure devotee. So you can pray to get relief from the pain. It's intense. I mean, what are you going to pray for? When you're in pain, you're going to pray that all the conditioned souls get liberated or something like that. I mean, it's hard to think. It's hard to think about the poor conditioned souls when you're in extreme, excruciating pain. I mean, I can tell you that. You know, I had the kidney stone. I wasn't thinking, oh, maybe I should read Krishna book right now. Or life. I was thinking, you know, what is this thing, you know, serving Krishna life after life in this material world? Maybe that's not such a good idea. You know, Mama Janmani Shirai. You think about that. Do I actually want to come back? Now that I'm experiencing the real pain that Maya can put me in? It makes you want to doubt your own determination. It makes you humble also. Actually, it makes you humble. Because you're thinking when everything's going all right, I'm such a great devotee. I just want to serve you life after life in the material world. And when the pain comes, you'll say to Krishna, "No, forget about that prayer. Just get me the hell out of here." So I go back to God. And then you realize that, yeah, you weren't all that you thought you were. It's really a humbling experience. You're looking at someone like Prabhupada, who's an absolutely pure devotee, and he's speaking the Bhagavatam purports, leaving this material world in a situation that anyone else would have been such excruciating, screaming pain. And you're thinking, you're on that level. Oh my God. Krishna said, you're not on that level. So you just be practical. If you want to pray for relief of the pain, go ahead and do it. Don't feel guilty because you're fooling yourself that you're more elevated than you actually are. That's the point. Or you're trying to act on a level higher than you actually are. One has to be really careful to understand their level of devotional service. Don't imitate Prabhupada. I could just see you in pain and just say, I'm not going to pray that Krishna will relieve me of pain. Just, if you want, just bring on the pain, Krishna. I did not pray like that. I didn't pray. I didn't pray like Queen Kunti, please let this pain happen again and end so there will be no more repeated birth and death. I prayed, let it end, Krishna, and I'll be more serious about serving you.
You always tell me to meditate on that verse, Tate.
Yeah, that's another thing, Tate Nukampa, Sushamikshamano. You see it as a token reaction. Yeah, that's one way you could see it. When it's happening, it's very hard to see like that. It's very hard. I tell you, when you're in extreme pain, it's extremely hard to be philosophical. You're in pain and thinking, what was that Bhagavatam verse I'm trying to remember? Oh, yes. Let me check on the database at the same time. Ooh. I mean, all I could do was just pace back and forth in my room, screaming out Krishna's name. They describe that kidney stone pain is basically the same as a lady giving birth, and I believe it. Now I'll be more compassionate with ladies because of that. Okay, on that happy note, we should end. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila